Welcome back to Jewelry Making Made Easy by Ellen. The last project we did was a graduated pearl set, and I mentioned in that video that it could be done with no tools. So that's what we'll be working on today. You can do this with probably any beads, but because this is what I have available, this is what we're going to work on. What you need is a card of natural silk cord, and it comes with a little needle on the end. It's all wrapped around that cord. It comes with a needle right on it. It's usually very bent up, but you could straighten it out with your fingers. And there's 2 meters of it, which is really, really very long. And this is actually not the whole thing, but a piece that I have left over. But I advise you, if you are going to get this cord, it comes in many, 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 many colors, to use the whole thing, because if you use a portion of it, you still have the needle on the front end for another project. So we have the bead cord. We have, and we're making a small version. I'm making a mini graduated necklace that you would have to be very, very tiny to wear, but just to make the video a little bit shorter, less boring, and give you the idea of what you can do if you're not ready to purchase tools. We have the pearls that are in the set. Instead of using 4mm to start with, like I did with the regular graduated pearl necklace, I'm starting with 6mm, because 4mm is a little difficult to work with this this medium. So I'm just going to move this aside and show you that graduated, how pretty that graduated necklace is. Again, I mean, this is timeless. You could do this with anything, and it has never gone out of style, and it's around forever as far as I know. I've seen it in the 20s. I see it used a lot now. So we have a lobster claw and ear wire, because I'm only going to do one earring, and a split ring, and an 11mm pearl, not 11mm, size 11 pearl seed bead. So let's get started. I've already taken my my cord off the card. Actually, it's a leftover piece, and what we're going to do is we're going to start with the first pearl. We're going to string that on there, put the needle through, and put the first end of the clasp on, and slide those guys down to almost the end, leaving enough room to get a grip on it. Just want to leave a couple of inches on the end. I'm messing up my stuff here. I have all the pearls laid out in the order that I'm going to string them. So here we have our split ring and our pearl. And what we're going to do at this point is we're going to leave that split ring hanging, and we're going to put our needle back through in the opposite direction, the pearl, and slide all that silk through, pulling the split ring right up to the pearl. Then I want to try to keep my hands in frame. I keep moving the camera around trying to get a good view for you all, but I forget where the camera is. Anyway, we're going to tie a double knot. I'm putting the cord around my finger and sliding the end through the loop. Sure I am. And just pulling it. Not too tight, but tight enough. Do it one more time. And this silk cord is a size 5. It's small enough so that you are more than likely not going to see that in between the pearls. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of glue on a piece of cardboard I have here. I'm going to take a toothpick, rub it in that glue, and dab some right onto that knot. I don't think I really got any glue there, so I may just wipe it off of the brush. Okay, just putting a tiny little bit on that knot and wait for that glue to dry. I'm going to blow on it. In the meantime, while it's drying, I'm going to start stringing on the rest of my pearls. Like I said, they're in the order, the graduated order that I want them, and this is a like half necklace, just to give you the idea that you can actually string yourself a necklace and a pair of earrings without investing in tools. This way you get a chance to see whether you enjoy it before spending money on something that just may sit aside. So I started with 6mm. I think I said in the video, the other video, I used 4mm, but that's a little difficult to work with. Not impossible, but a little difficult, so I wanted to show you how easy it is. You're better off starting with 6mm. So I put on my 6mm, I'm putting on some 8mm, gradually working up. And what made me think of this was how I was not really very anxious to spend money on tools in the beginning. Wasn't sure whether I was going to fall in love with, since I'm normally not a very patient person, but when it comes to beading, a whole different story. I have tons of patience. Okay, now I'm up to my 10mm. I have 3 of those. The actual necklace has double or more. The 12mm, I use an odd number for the largest beads. It just makes the necklace fall nicely. And then I'm working my way back down. In the meantime, this guy over here, he's still drying. He's probably dry by now. But so those are the 12mm. We're working back down. We're at the 10mm. Now this needle is always a little bent, so it takes me a little longer to string. We're at the 8mm. I don't know whether I mentioned or not that this Griffin silk bead cord comes in many colors. I'm using the white because it goes well with the white pearls. Most of the time you don't see it anyway, so it really doesn't matter what color you use. Okay, so these are all my 6mm. I've completely strung all of my pearls for my half necklace. This glue down here should be dry, and I believe it is. So I'm going to take my scissor and I'm going to cut that excess off, and I'm going to slide the pearls I just strung all the way down. So now we have our first side done, and that knot is barely visible. I don't know whether you can see that or not, but you can barely tell it's there. And if you can see it, it's at the back of your neck. I mean, I see a tiny little bit out here, and if I were using a darker thread, I have a trick that I don't suggest doing. I burn it off. There's a thing called a thread zapper, and you could use it on that. I kind of use a lighter because I'm not fond of spending money, and it usually works. I mean, I've never set it on fire, but I don't suggest doing it. Okay, got all the pearls on. We're ready for the second side. We're going to pick up our lobster, put the needle through the loop, let it slide down to the pearls, trying to stay in frame here, and with the tools pushed not tight but together, I'm going to put my needle back through. It's coming out the loop on the lobster. I'm going to go back through the pearl. See, my needle's bent. Pull them back together again, and pull my needle and my excess together. Here's our mini necklace. Pick that up, wrap my silk cord around my finger, put my needle through the loop that we just made, I like to lay it down so I can make sure it's going to be pulled through those two beads. Pull it tight. Do it one more time. I double knot it because there's a little bit more for the glue to get a grip of. Pull it down, make sure it's sitting between those two beads, and pull it tight. Now this is not what I'm trying to make tight. There should always be a tiny little bit of space so that there's movement in your beads, but I just want my cord tight between these two beads. Put my fingernail up against it. Again, take a little tiny bit of glue. Here's my toothpick and my glue. I'm just going to dab a little bit on the tip of that toothpick. Get it on that knot. You can see when your knot is wet. Just get it a little wet with the glue, and then let it dry. While it's drying, in the meantime, you can see that you have a mini. You don't want to do a mini unless there's an elf in your house that you want to make jewelry for. You have a mini graduated pearl necklace. So I'm going to set that over here, let it dry a little bit, and I will cut this here so we can start to work on the earring. Now here are my beads for the earring. We have a 12 millimeter, a 10 millimeter, an 8 millimeter, and then I want two 6 millimeters. Where are they? One, two. Okay. And how we start this is we pick up our larger bead, our 12 millimeter, put the needle through, pick up in a size 11 pearl seed bead. If you have a size 15, which I do not, would probably be better. Let me see if I have one over here. I have a size 15 in a clear AB, so I'm going to use that instead, because we really don't want to see the too much of the seed bead. Okay, so we put on our large pearl. I'm picking up a size 15 seed bead, and it's a clear AB. I wish I had a pearl color, but I don't. We're going to slide them down just like we did with the necklace. We're going to leave a little tail there to get a grip, because we're going to be making a knot. Now pick it up. We're coming out this side of the pearl with our little seed bead, our size 15 seed bead there. Actually, when I said I was going to do this, I had no idea how to make an earring, and this was just a couple of days ago without using tools, but I figured it out this morning. So we're going back, we're skipping over that seed bead, and we're going back through the pearl with our bent needle, but it does go through. Pull that up, pull it nice and tight, and now you just have this tiny little seed bead on the bottom, where you wouldn't have it before. If you were using a head pin, you would have the tip of the head pin showing, which is pretty much the same thing. And here again, what we're going to do is we're going to tie a double knot around my fingers, made a loop, put the end through the loop, tie that nice and tight, because we don't want the knot to be too big, and then do it one more time. Tie it nice and tight. Get that old toothpick out again, and let's get off the card that has glue on it. I'm going to get a little glue on the end. Put a little glue on that knot. Just a tiny little bit so that you can see it's just barely damp. Pull that knot again. I'd blow on it a little bit. And now I'm going to put string on the rest of the pearls. The next size, that's a 12. Here's a 10. Am I in frame? Of course not. Here's a 10. An 8. And 2 6s. You should probably let that glue dry a little bit longer, but for the purposes of making this video, and I'm not going to keep this, I'm risking it. Pull them down, and I am going to snip off the excess thread as close to that glued knot as I can. There's our earring. All we need is our ear hook now. So I'm going to pick up my needle. What is this here? Pick up my needle, go through the loop in my ear hook, slide it down to the top pearl, and holding the beads close together, pushing them down towards the bottom. I'm going to slip back down through that top pearl. It's one to go through too, so I'll just lift it up a little bit and then pull it down. Get the needle through and then pull that pearl down. And pull the excess and the ear wire down to meet the pearls. Again, we're going to wrap the silk around our finger, making a loop. Lay the thread between the two pearls, the top pearl and the one next to it. Bring the needle back through. The bent needle, it's the only problem with this needle on a card. It's a little bendy, but I like to lay it down, make sure that all my beads are together, that my silk is laying between those two beads before I pull. Pull it nice and tight. Do it one more time. Made a loop around my finger. Put the needle through the loop. Lay it down, make sure that the silk is between those two beads. Pull it tight. And get my little toothpick guy out again. Just a tiny little bit of glue. I am actually using a plastic toothpick. A wooden one is better. Get in there and find that knot. Just wipe a little bit of glue on it. Try not to get it on the pearl. And I'm going to pull it tight again. Let it dry. And then I'll cut it off. So here is, you have to make believe that excess thread isn't there because we didn't cut it off. Here is your earring, graduated earring, and you can cut off the excess thread on the necklace at this point. So it'll dry, and here is our graduated necklace. A little small, but what you'll be doing is making a larger one. Isn't that cute? I wonder if that would fit my dog. She's a toy poodle. You'd be surprised how many people like to make doggy jewelry. I'm actually thinking of making her some because it's so cute, but this is probably too small. I'm going to go ahead and cut this so I can show you that it has a decent flow, and it does hang pretty straight, and you should not be able to see that there are any knots in there. Necklace and earrings. So, it's true. No tools, no problem for stringing a necklace anyway. I'm glad you enjoyed this video. In my kits, I will make this an option to pick a no tools kit. And I'll include some seed beads, the pearl color natural silk, and the right size, no 4mm. I'd leave the 4mm out and replace it with 6mm pearls. I hope you enjoyed the video, and happy beading. Have a blessed day.